Bessie. Thank the gods for Bessie. And her tits.
Cheers.
This is our Kool-Aid, which is to say it's a certain drink that we can't say because YouTube will probably get pretty upset at me.
Splendid.
Ooh, that's good.
It's good Kool-Aid.
That's my friend Joe, who you know, brought that to me.
That pitcher of Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that picture of Kraken,
Kraken brand Kool-Aid,
spiced black Kool-Aid. House of the Dragon season 2 is going to be in just like I think just over a month, right?
About a month and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you're joining us and you're thinking, "What the fuck? Like, this is a Star Wars channel. What are you guys doing? Are you guys done with Star Wars content?" No, we're definitely not. And in fact, the way we've been opening our live shows, we are, of course, interested in Star Wars, but we are also supremely interested in other sci-fi/fantasy/sci-fi fantasy stories. And one of the best fantasy stories ever told, in my opinion, is Game of Thrones. Now, you've seen a handful of very important moments. Yeah.
I remember the Battle of the Bastards. I remember some dragons lighting people on fire.
That happens. So you have been following House of the Dragon, though.
Yes.
Like, we've seen all the episodes and stuff. So we are going to do a recap. We're going to do season 1 today because I'm not sure how long this is going to take. And the amount of time it takes will help me do stuff in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how much detail to put in. So we're going to do season 1. I will say, as a proviso, this is not the book. While season 1 follows the book pretty faithfully, the rest of the series leaves out stuff in the book. And I haven't read all the books because I don't think that George R. R. Martin's going to finish the series, and I don't want to get invested and then be like, oh, it only goes up to this.
True. He's probably going to die before he finishes the last book because he's only on the second to last, and he hasn't even finished that.
Right. Well, according to him, he has, or he's gotten very close to it.
I'll believe it when
that's
it
good.
hits shelves.
That's good.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna have another taste of that,
just to make sure.
Mm-hmm. Woo. Okay. So if you like stumble across our shit here and you are like a diehard Game of Thrones book fan, I'm so sorry. I've not read them. And I've heard that they're good. And that's fine. I will tell you that I fell in love with this show because of its story, because of the characters, and this show like grabbed the world. Like, it was in the zeitgeist so hard and just enchanted everyone. It's the reason it was so popular. Probably HBO's most famous property of all time, right?
Because there's so many characters. Surely you'll find one you like.
Right. And there's a sense that no one's safe, and everyone's got their motivations.
I mean, they kill Sean Bean.
Yeah.
What kind of monster would kill Sean Bean?
Yeah, don't spoil anything, by the way. So I'm going to go through season 1, and we'll get through season 8, hopefully, and we will be doing House of the Dragon season 1 before the show premieres. So I've got my map.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you a quick primer about the world and everything first, and some of the key actors. And then we'll go through the story. Okay.
Okay.
So this is Roll20, by the way, in this like super high resolution map of the world, which is Westeros, which is this continent right here.
In the west, if you notice.
Yeah. And if you're thinking, wow, that looks a lot like England and then like maybe Ireland, it's because it's England and then maybe Ireland.
Yeah.
And this is Essos, which is like Africa pretty much, right? These are like the free cities of Essos and the where the Dothraki are from. And I have no idea what the fuck this is over here. If anything actually ever happens over there in the show, I can't remember. Let me know in the comments. By the way, if I leave out a detail or a character that you think is very important to season 1, it's likely that I'm saving them for later because they're not like terribly important. Or it just could be that I don't think that they're that important at all. Okay, so let's go on a quick tour around the map.
Okay. Hey, is that Greenland?
More or less, yeah. Okay, so this is beyond
Iceland.
the
That'd be Iceland.
first thing you need to know, this is the wall.
Okay.
It's a giant fucking ice wall
Okay.
that separates this part from this part. Now you might be thinking, why?
Why would you need a wall?
Why is there a giant wall? And no one really knows anymore. The legend is that thousands of years ago, it was built to protect the realms of men from the White Walkers. But the White Walkers...
What's a White Walker?
They're icy zombie dead people.
Okay.
But they're not real.
Of course not.
Right?
Why would they?
Yeah, it's
Zombies are fake.
Yeah, it's an old tale that you know, parents tell their kids to scare them, right? Now, the wall mostly is to keep the wildlings out, or the free folk, who are a race of men who don't want the king thing.
Sure.
And so they live north of the wall. And so then the wall is to separate them. And the Night's Watch, who man the wall, fight. They've got this whole little thing all by themselves up here where they fight each other and no one gives a fuck about what's happening up here, right? So this is the wall. And it is watched over by the Night's Watch.
Okay.
Lord Commander of the Night's Watch is J.R. Mormont. Okay. Going south is Winterfell. Now, the way that you have wardens of each direction. So like you have Winterfell is the north.
Okay.
And the ruler up here, Ned Stark, is the warden of the north. Okay.
Seems like a pretty sweet gig.
We're going to learn a lot about Ned, and his family in a bit. By the way, there are a bunch of locations I'm gonna leave out because they're not necessarily important right now. We're gonna go east to the Vale.
Is that Gilbert Gottfried?
Yes, I'll tell you why. This is the Eyrie. The ward of the east is Jon Arryn. Now, there's not a photo of Jon Arryn living in Game of Thrones. So I just used a photo of Gilbert Gottfried for Jon Arryn. I'm very sorry.
All right.
This is the Iron Islands, ruled by Balon Greyjoy. This is Casterly Rock, which is ruled over by Tywin Lannister, who is the Warden of the West.
Okay.
This is King's Landing.
Seems important.
Yes, this is the center of power in the world, in Westeros, and the current king is Robert Baratheon.
All right.
Okay. Over here is Dragonstone, which you will remember from.
I do remember Dragonstone.
Dragonstone is ruled by his brother Stannis.
Stannis Baratheon.
Yes, and then this is the Storm's End, which is ruled over by Robert's little brother Renly.
I think I remember that from House of the Dragon.
Yes, Storm's End is the family seat of the Baratheons.
Okay.
So Renly is in charge of that. Stannis is in charge of Dragonstone, which is where the Targaryen seat used to be. This is Dorne. We're not going to learn much about Dorne in season 1.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but you might think, oh, they're the South. They must be hillbillies. And no, they're actually like the most progressive, like cool people in the world.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Middle Ages, so it doesn't take much to be the most progressive people in the world.
Right. And over here are the free cities of Essos. These guys over here are separate from Westeros. The king has no jurisdiction over here. They do their own thing.
Of course, there's a whole ocean between them.
Right. A very narrow ocean, you might say.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's more or less the world. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the story I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start as if we're starting the day before the first episode. Okay. However, I have to give you 2 prologues.
Okay.
Because it's Game of Thrones and you got to have 2 prologues.
Yes.
First, you might remember in House of the Dragon, Targaryens have been ruling Westeros for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Ah.
So
You mean that all the incest finally caught up with them?
Yes. Targaryens have ruled for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But not so much lately.
Up until the Mad King, King Aerys II, who was fucking crazy. So he's king.
That's why they called him the Mad King.
Robert Baratheon, when he was young, he was sexy and lean and fierce. Falls in love with a woman named Lyanna Stark from Winterfell, who is Eddard's sister.
Mm-hmm.
They fall in love. They become engaged to marry. At a tournament, King Aerys II's son, Rhaegar, sees Lyanna Stark and immediately falls in love with her. And what was his response?
I can't imagine it was good.
He kidnaps her.
Oh.
Robert's like, give her back. And the Targaryen's like, fuck off. And he's like, was not the correct answer.
No.
And so Robert waged a war against the Targaryens and beat them.
Huh. Good for him.
20, 30 years ago. Yeah. And became the king of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, because he kicked the current king's ass.
Yes. By the way, his thing was a warhammer. He's big, fucking big black beard, fucking warhammer. Terrified everyone. Sure. He was a fierce fighter. By the way, when they were this young, he and Eddard Stark were very good friends, and they are also very good friends with Jon Arryn. Mm-hmm. So Robert becomes king.
Good for him.
Yep. And that's how. And Jaime Lannister puts a sword through the king's back. He was on his king's guard, murders them on the throne. Thus ends the Targaryen reign.
Okay.
And everyone's like, that's great because they were fucking crazy anyway.
They were kind of nuts.
Yes. All right. At the end of the war, the legend is that Rhaegar rapes and murders Lyanna Stark.
Oh.
And that crushes Robert. And so instead of marrying Lyanna Stark, who he was meant to marry, he marries Cersei Lannister, who is the daughter of Tywin.
Okay.
And she becomes the queen. Now, prologue number 2. And this happens just a few days before the story. The men of the Night's Watch.
Those crazy motherfuckers on the wall all the way up there.
They send a ranger party north to go check some weird shit out.
Okay.
Probably find some wildlings. Some free folk, which is a little more PC. And they're fucking walking around. And they find a display of dead bodies.
Oh.
Not dead bodies. Dismembered dead bodies.
Oh.
Arranged in weird things.
It's kind of fucked up.
And they're like, who would do this? And they're like, this happened. This is a weird world. Maybe anyone. And they're like, okay, good point. And as they're trying to figure it out, this dude shows up. He's got white skin, glowing blue eyes, looks like a fucking zombie. Kills all but one of them.
That's concerning.
The guy that survives is like, fuck the Night's Watch.
I'm out of here.
And he runs away. That's prologue number 2.
Okay.
Now.
So you mean to tell me zombies aren't fake?
No.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's right.
Which never would have expected that.
Right. I will also mention that the first episode of this show was originally shot and was such a disaster that they had to reshoot it again. They had to bring in the guy from The Sopranos to reshoot it. and then they're like, okay, so let's meet some characters, shall we? These are the Starks. Most of them are the Starks. Okay?
It's a lot of Starks.
Yeah, 2 of them aren't really Starks. This is Eddard.
Sean Bean.
Also called Ned.
All right.
And this is his wife, Catelyn. So we're going to use red for married because of the Le Passion, right? So they're married. This is Catelyn Stark. I used to be, I'm just going to put C because I can't remember how to spell her name. She used to be Catelyn Tully from River Runs. She married Ned after, Yeah. So they had children. Their oldest child, Rob, with 2 B's. Sansa, Arya, Bran.
Yep.
And then Rickon, their youngest.
Okay.
You were probably thinking, well, who the fuck are these other 2 guys? So this is Theon Greyjoy.
It's his deal.
He is a hostage. But it was from that old war I told you about. And he was raised in Winterfell as if he was Ned's son, more or less.
But he just can't leave.
Right. It was to make sure that the Iron Islands behaved.
Okay.
They're like, if you step out of line, we're going to kill your kid.
Sure, politics.
Right. So that's Theon. Theon worships Robb, and they consider each other brothers.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And this is Jon Snow.
Jon Snow, who famously knows nothing?
Yes. So let me tell you about Eddard Stark.
Please do. That's why we're here.
This story begins and ends with the Starks. Ned Stark is possibly the only good guy in this entire story. He is fiercely loyal, fiercely honest. His honor means a lot to him. He always does the right thing.
There's no way he survives very long. Because as we all know, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah. So he comes back from the war with a bastard son, which is a surprise to everyone because that's kind of a scarlet letter that he wears. Yeah. Now, enough time has gone by where everyone's kind of accepted it.
It's whatever.
And as a result, Catelyn fucking hates Jon Snow. And in this world, if your last name is Snow, you're a bastard. Okay. So everyone who's a bastard, their last name is Snow. So these are all his half siblings. And then apparently Ned fucked some woman somewhere, probably a whore.
Yeah.
And had Jon brought him back home. They raised him. Catelyn hates him. Okay. Is another very important family. This is the Baratheons, most of them. But I put another person on here because he's important to the discussion here. So this is Robert.
The king.
The king, yes. And this is his wife, Cersei, who used to be a Lannister and I guess now is Baratheon.
Baratheon, right? Yeah, by marriage.
They have 3 children. Joffrey, their oldest.
God, I want to punch him.
Let me tell you, Chris, this dude's a cunt.
He has such a punchable face.
Marcella.
Okay.
And Tommen, who's played by an entirely different actor later on in the show. And then these are Robert's brothers, Stannis and Renly.
The fact that I don't remember that girl child from any of the episodes that you showed me probably doesn't bode well for her, huh?
Well, she's very important to the story. I'll explain it when we get there. So I put Jaime up here because he's important because he is Cersei's brother. Okay. Jaime is on the King's Guard.
Okay.
And they're like the Secret Service, pretty much. And if you're on the King's Guard, you kind of renounce.
You guard the king.
But you can't have kids. You can't, And that's same with the Night's Watch, by the way. You can't father children. You can't get married. You can never leave.
That was, what's his name? Sir Crispin or whatever the fuck his name was in House of the Dragon. That was his whole thing.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna give you a quick primer on the government of this all.
Okay.
The government is the king is the boss of everything.
The king and his buddies.
Yes. So this is the small council, which is like his cabinet. Right. So this is Jon Arryn, played by Gilbert Gottfried. He's the hand of the king. Okay.
Good for him.
He's like the president's chief of staff.
Okay.
There's a famous line in the show that says, "The king shits, and the hand of the king cleans it up or eats it or something." I don't know. This is Grand Maester Pycelle.
Okay.
You might recognize him, probably not because he's real old now, but he was the Imperial officer in Empire Strikes Back that lands on Hoth and the Walker.
Oh,
yeah,
cool. It's a fun little connection.
The Maesters, by the way, are like an order of academics.
They're the science people.
Right. Every castle has one. They're usually the doctor, but they're also strategists and historians and everything.
And because they're Middle Ages doctors, they prescribe leeches for everything.
Or maggots, yeah. So because he works for the king, he's the Grand Maester.
Okay.
This is the Master of Whisperers, Varys. He doesn't have a dick.
Huh.
Now you might be thinking, how important is that to the plot? More important than you might think. And this is the Master of Coin, Peter Baelish.
He looks like a jackass.
Let me tell you,
He's
Chris.
just a giant jerk.
Let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a cunt. Peter Baelish. The Night's Watch real quick.
Okay.
This is Lord Commander Mormont. This is Maester Aemon. This is Alistair Thorne.
And notice you laughed when you said that.
Well, let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a cunt.
I feel like you can say that about most characters on this show.
And this is Yoren, who is the Wandering Crow.
Okay.
His job is to go and recruit for the Night's Watch. It's a hard sell because no one wants to do the Night's Watch. And this is the thing with the Night's Watch.
Why would you want to live on a giant wall made of ice where nothing ever happens?
Yeah.
And if it turns out
wildlings.
zombies are real,
Yeah.
you're the first one in line.
Now, some people volunteer for it. A lot of their ranks come from criminals because they'll be like, okay, you raped someone. You can either get your dick chopped off or you can go to the wall for the rest of your life. And they're like, I'll go to the wall. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I think we got the King's Small Council. Oh, this guy over here. I forgot. This is Barristan Selmy.
Okay.
This is Lord Commander of the King's Guard. Ordinarily, the Lord Commander of the King's Guard is supposed to be on the council, but he was the Lord Commander. He was a King's Guard for King Aerys, and so Robert doesn't trust him, so he doesn't get to be on the Small Council.
And he's the king, so no one's going to argue with him.
Right. One more.
I recognize that hair. These are Targaryens.
These are the surviving Targaryens. This is
all of them.
Yes, this is Viserys and his sister Daenerys. Okay. And on our map, they are at the beginning of the story.
Yeah, they're all the fucking way over there.
They're in Pentos, which is across the Narrow Sea. So when they killed King Aerys in the middle of the night, Viserys and Daenerys were on Storm. I think they were in Dragonstone, and they just escaped the assassins because Robert wanted them killed as children.
Sure.
Because they would have been threats to his claim.
Yep.
So they went over.
So they fucked off.
Yeah. Okay. So you're kind of caught up with everything.
Vaguely.
We're going to start on, we're going to start on episode 1, the season 1, episode 1, Winter is Coming. Okay. Now, I told you we're using Gilbert Gottfried's likeness because we never see him alive, right?
Yeah.
That's because the story starts out, he's dead.
Oh, okay. Bye, Gilbert Gottfried.
Jon Arryn has died. The Hand of the King has died.
Okay, that seems like a big deal.
Now, there's at the beginning there's a cryptic conversation between Jaime and his sister Cersei, and Jaime is like, "If anyone knew about us, they'd already be dead." And then you're like, "No, about what? That's fucking weird."
Yeah, it's a little strange.
So the king is like, "Okay, I'm riding north. I'm gonna go talk to Ned Stark and convince him to be my Hand of the King and bring him back to." To King's Landing.
Yeah.
So he's going to call on his old friend, Ned.
The only one you can trust.
Yes. Which makes total sense. Meanwhile, in Pentos, Viserys and his daughter, and his sister Daenerys are exiled, and they're waiting for their chance to reclaim the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me tell you something, Chris, about Viserys. He's a huge cunt.
Again, you can say that about most characters in this show.
There's a weird thing with him too, where he likes to touch his sister's boobs, and she doesn't like it.
Understandably so.
Yeah, he's just a creep all the way the fucking around. Right?
I mean, they're Targaryens, so he probably dreams about fucking her. But
right, yeah, that is a thing that happens. Yeah, so Viserys has sold his sister to Khal Drogo, who is a Dothraki. These guys are fucking crazy. They love to ride horses.
Mm-hmm.
They kill and rape and pillage.
So they're Mongols.
Well,
Like they're sounding an awful lot like the Mongols a la Genghis Khan.
yeah, but a little less Asian. But yeah,
Okay.
they've all got their big fucking ponytails.
Mhm.
They're dark and muscly, kind of hot. And so Khal Drogo, who I forgot to put on here, but he's played by what is his name? Jason Momoa.
Oh yeah.
The guy that plays Aquaman.
Yeah.
So Viserys is like, I'm going to sell you my sister, and you're going to help me. All the Dothraki, your huge fucking army of crazies, are going to come over and help me retake the Seven Kingdoms. And Khal Drogo doesn't speak their language and is like, sure.
Whatever.
Right? That's pretty much it. He's like, okay, sure. So they have a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very Dothraki wedding, which apparently legend says that the king shits the hand wipes is what the saying
there
is.
you go.
By the way, I'll read a couple of these. I stopped watching Game of Thrones after season 4, and it's wild. I still follow most of this. You should. That's the thing about this is that you should watch the rest of it. The quality does go down, but there are still really great moments in it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Daenerys has her wedding to Khal Drogo.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very Dothraki affair,
Yeah.
which is to say, if no one dies at a Dothraki wedding, it's a really boring wedding.
Huh. Okay.
So like these two guys get in a fight, one of them like disembowels them. Daenerys, who is so innocent and young, is like, ew.
That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. So enter Jorah Mormont.
Oh, hello there.
He shows up and he's like, what's up? And Jorah is a knight of the Seven Kingdoms that was exiled, and we'll find out later why.
Okay.
So he shows up and he's like, I'm loyal to the Targaryens. You want to hang out? And Viserys is like, sure. And he's like, oh, wasn't really talking to you. I was talking to Daenerys, but that's fine. That's fine. Daenerys gets a bunch of wedding gifts,
Mm-hmm.
fucking books. More importantly, she's given 3 petrified dragon eggs.
Oh.
Now, dragons have not been seen in the world for like 300 years or
Which
something.
is probably why the Targaryens aren't in power anymore, because dragons were kind of their thing.
Right. And the thing about the Targaryens, they started locking their dragons up in the dragon pit because they're they're nuclear bombs. Oh, every one of them is a nuclear warhead,
Yes.
right? They started locking them up in the dragon pit and locking them away, and they started getting smaller and smaller to the point to where like the last dragons that were seen were like the size of cats. And then they just died out.
It's kind of pathetic.
Yes. So she gets 3 petrified dragon eggs, and they're like, these are like, they're just this is all, they're paperweights pretty much, right? In the north, the man in our prologue that escaped the White Walkers,
Mm-hmm.
Ned catches him.
Oh.
And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, I'm running away from the White Walkers. And he's like, you're a man of the Night's Watch. And he's like, not anymore.
Formerly.
And Ned's like, you can't leave the Night's Watch. And he's like, I'm currently leaving it. And he's like, well, I'm going to have to execute you for deserting the Night's Watch.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, you know what? Based on what I've seen, okay.
Death would be preferable.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, he tells Ned, like, I saw a motherfucking White Walker. And Ned, because the Northmen are a little more superstitious because they live a little closer to the wall, is like, shit, really?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, okay, I still got to cut your head off. I'm sorry.
So
And-
that's understandable.
So he takes him out with John and Bran, his little son Bran, and Theon, and they chop his head off. And they make Bran watch because it's like going to make him a man.
Yeah.
And Ned has this whole thing about how, like, if you order an execution, you have to do it yourself and shit. So on their way back home, they find a dead dire wolf. And it was like hunting a stag or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it died, but it has pups.
Puppies.
And at first they're like, oh, we might as well kill these pups because like they'll die when winter comes.
Like you have a folder specifically for the
Yes.
dire wolves.
So they noticed that there are 5 wolves,
Mm-hmm.
and there are 5 Stark children. Well, there are 4 Stark children And there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3,
there's 5 of them.
6. So there were 6. Well, I think I'm missing a wolf here. That's fine. So they're like, oh, it's fate, so we'll take them home.
Sure,
and every kid will get one, right? So Rob gets Grey Wind. Oh, that's real fucking big.
Dog.
He's a puppy. This is Grey Wind all grown up.
Mm-hmm.
Sansa gets Lady.
Okay. It's a little doggy.
They all name them themselves. Now, direwolves, by the way, are not supposed to be dog sized. They're like horse sized wolves, right?
That's vaguely terrifying.
Yep. Arya gets Nymeria.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know who I'm missing? Who I forgot to download.
Who's that?
Bran's wolf Summer.
Ah.
And then Little Rickon gets his own wolf, and he names it Shaggy Dog. And let me tell you, Chris, Shaggy Dog is a crazy fucking dog. He doesn't like anyone except for Theon, or except for Rickon. Is constantly trying to bite people.
He looks so sad.
Yeah, he's kind of a wreck. And then Jon Snow gets Ghost, who is like the albino red.
I wonder why he was named Ghost.
Right. So all the kids have direwolves, and Ned's like, okay, but you're going to train them, and you're going to take them out and clean their shit up.
You're going to feed them. Yeah. And
now, the king has come north.
Come.
To speak to Ned Stark.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his whole entourage with him. And it's really funny. He gets there, and he's so fat at this point that he's got to have a step stool to get off his horse. And he walks up to Ned. They haven't seen each other in fucking decades.
Yeah.
And Ned's like, you're a fat ass. And everyone's like, and then Robert laughs. And this actor has such a contagious, infectious laugh. It's so fucking hilarious. So he's like, all right, enough fucking talk. Take me to the crypts. I want to go pay my respects to Lyanna.
Mm-hmm.
And Cersei is like,
always with Lyanna.
Yeah. So while they're down there, he has a moment where he's like, this was supposed to be the woman I was with, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And he turns to Ned. He's like, Jon Arryn's dead. It fucking sucks. You need to be hand to the king. We're going to marry Joffrey and Sansa. Thus, I've commanded it. And Ned is like, can I think about it? And he's like, not for very long.
No.
So that night, Ned and Catelyn are in bed. Not like in bed. Not like that.
They're not fucking.
They're in their bedroom. They're just hanging.
Sleep.
They're talking. Yeah. And a mysterious letter comes from Lysa Arryn, who is Jon Arryn's wife.
Okay.
And the letter goes, Jon was murdered by the Lannisters. They plan to kill the king.
Oh.
And Catelyn's like, whoa, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so she's like, she turns to Ned. She's like, you got to go because you're the only one that can protect Robert, right? Mm-hmm. Like if the Lannisters are making a power move, you need to be there to stop it. So Ned's like, okay. Ned's going to take Sansa, Arya, and Bran to King's Landing.
Okay.
Catelyn is going to stay home with Robb, who's going to rule Winterfell with Catelyn. They have a rule that there must always be a Stark in Winterfell. And Rickon's going to stay there too because he's a little baby, right? So at the end of the episode, a defining character trait about Bran is that he loves to climb, right? So like Sansa wants to be a lady, right? That's why she calls her fucking direwolf lady. Arya wants to be a knight. She does not even want to be a girl, really.
She's a tomboy.
Yeah. Bran likes to climb. He likes to shoot arrows, and he likes to be a boy.
He's a monkey.
Yeah. Rickon is barely conscious because he's a baby. Yeah. So like he doesn't want anything other than like to shit his pants. There is an old abandoned tower in Winterfell. It's old and broken down.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's this one right here, maybe.
Okay.
No. It's one of these over here.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Maybe it's this one. I don't know.
One of the towers.
Let me know in the comments which one it is. And he likes to climb, so he climbs this tower.
Yeah.
I think it's called the Broken Tower. Anyway. He starts climbing, and he hears some weird noises he's never heard before. And so he peeks around the window, and it is Jaime Lannister, balls deep in his sister. Fucking.
They're not supposed to do that. They're not Targaryens.
Pounding the shit out of her.
Yes.
And Bran's like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah,
I wonder what they're doing.
Yeah.
And Cersei sees him and screams. And Jaime walks over and grabs him and sits him in the on the windowsill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "What the fuck are you doing up there?" And he's like, "I was just climbing, blah blah blah." And Cersei's like, "Jaime, like he's gonna tell." And Jaime looks at Bran and says, "The things I do for love," and he pushes him out the window.
Oh,
Falls the entire length of the fucking tower, lands on the ground. Episode over.
it's pretty fucked up.
It's real fucked up because Jaime is a piece of shit, right?
Again,
tell
you
you,
could
Chris.
say that about most characters.
Let me tell you,
in this
Chris.
show.
Jaime's a huge cunt. So, episode 2.
Let us know in the comments how many times has Daniel said the phrase "huge cunt."
Yeah, let me tell you, Chris. So, episode 2, The King's Road. So
You're gonna have to pick up the pace a little bit.
yeah. Well, we're not doing world building anymore, so, and I'm not going to redo that every time we do a new season of these. So, Daenerys and Viserys are in the Dothraki Sea now,
which
hanging
is the steppe.
Yeah, which
Mongol.
this is all just grasslands, by the way.
Yeah.
So Jorah tells Viserys why he's exiled, which more or less was he caught poachers on his land and he sold them as slaves.
Okay, probably shouldn't do that.
A big thing, so they exiled him.
Slavery is bad.
Yeah. So marriage for Daenerys is not going well. There's not a lot of consent involved.
Well, I mean, her husband doesn't speak any language she speaks.
He's also this giant hulking man who only knows violence and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And she's tiny and little bitty. And he likes to have sex. And she's like, I don't. And he's like, I didn't fucking ask. But she has dragon eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And she can't keep her mind off of them.
Yeah, understandable.
So like every night, she dreads it, but she bears it because she has to. And she's like, at least I got fucking dragon eggs.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, she starts to notice that Khal Drogo's kind of hot.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so she asks one of her handmaids, and she's like, how do you fuck a Dothraki? And she's like, I'll fucking show you. And teaches her about how she has more power over him than she thinks. And so that night, he comes to,
He comes to come.
yeah. And she's like, motherfucker, no. And he's like, that's not what I asked. And she's like, no, but that's what I fucking told you. And she turns around because he ordinarily, and this is going to get a little rated R, folks, takes her from behind.
Okay, yeah.
And she's like, not tonight, motherfucker. And she turns around and she looks at him and has sex with him, looking at each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's more intimate. And Daenerys kind of starts falling for Khal Drogo. She's like, you know what? Your abs are amazing.
Maybe this can work out.
Big fucking dick. I might be more into this than I thought. So in Winterfell.
Yes. All the fucking way over here.
Bran is in a great deal of medical trouble.
Yes. Because he got pushed out of a tower.
Yeah, it's been a month, by the way. A month has passed. Bran is in a coma. And Ned is like, well, we got to leave south. And so they're going to leave Bran there because he's in a fucking coma.
Yeah.
And Catelyn's like, how could you, like, I know I told you to go down there, but that was before someone tried to murder our son. Or, well, she's convinced someone tried to murder her. Everyone's like, he fell climbing.
He likes to climb.
Yeah, he fell climbing.
He just fucking fell.
So in this month, Jon Snow decides he's going to join the Night's Watch.
Okay.
Because Catelyn hates him.
He doesn't want to stick around.
He doesn't have a lot of purpose. He's a bastard. And he's like, you know what? And his uncle, their uncle Benjen, Ned's brother Benjen, is in the Night's Watch. And he's like, it'd be kind of cool just to hang out with him. He's kind of fucking cool. So Tyrion, the imp, who is also Cersei and Jaime's brother, was like, you know what? I've never seen the wall before. I'll travel north with you to see the wall. Before he leaves, Jon gives a gift to Arya.
Tyrion, whose defining character traits I remember are he likes to drink and he likes to fuck.
Yes. In fact, his character introduction to the series is him at a brothel. So
I dig it.
Jon gives Arya a gift.
That's a big fucking sword.
It's not that big.
That's what she said.
It's actually very small. It's the reason he gives it.
That
to
is
her,
also what she said.
He gives it to her because it's like a skinny little fencing sword,
appropriate for a lady,
and she calls it needle because it's a little needle, right? Yeah. Because Jon and Arya are really close, and they know that they're never going to see each other again. Because when you go to the Night's Watch, you're up there forever, right? So Ned and company leave for King's Landing, and everyone leaves together on the road out of Winterfell. When the road splits, one road goes up to the Night's Watch.
One goes north, one goes south.
Jon Snow asks his father, "Tell me about my mother." And Ned says, "The next time I see you, I will tell you all about your mother." And they leave.
I know just enough about how this goes to know that that's significant.
So they split and they leave, right? So on the road, Ned and Robert talk about the politics of everything. There's Viserys and Daenerys who are across the sea, might make a play for the throne, and Daenerys is married to Khal Drogo, and the Dothraki might be an issue, and Ned's like, they can't swim and they don't have boats.
Yeah, they have horses. Yeah. Horses can't cross an ocean.
They don't know how to. They don't know what to do with the water, and like it's never going to be a problem. And Robert's like, there is a conflict coming. I'm telling you right now, something bad's going to happen. And Ned's like,
something you might conceivably call a Game of Thrones.
Catelyn watches over Bran in his.
He's in a fucking coma.
Yeah.
And it's the Middle Ages, and they don't have the medical science to do anything about that.
Do literally anything. Yeah. Certainly the spinal surgery needs. There's a fire in one of their buildings, and everyone's distracted. And everyone runs over to the fire. Catelyn stays with Bran, and the door opens, and an assassin walks in.
Oh.
And he attempts to kill Bran using a very peculiar dagger.
That's oddly ornamental.
And might look oddly familiar to you.
I'm not placing it, but from context, I know it must be from House of the Dragon.
It is the dagger that...
the one with the prophecy?
Oh. So... Catelyn tries to protect Bran, gets her hands all cut the fuck up. Bran's wolf, Summer, walks in, was like, the fuck is happening here? Fucking tackles the assassin, tears his throat out. Fucking, it's gross.
Good for Summer.
Yeah. Blood all over him and shit. Yeah.
Very metal.
Yeah. So Cersei is like, why the fuck? Because everyone knows that Bran's going to live, right? He might be in a coma for the rest of his life. He might wake up, but he's going to live.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would someone try to have a boy killed? And so she goes on her little episode of CSI. She walks up to where he was climbing.
Caitlyn, you mean? Because you said
Catelyn.
Cersei.
Yeah, no, Catelyn. Yeah, sorry. Goes up to the broken tower where Bran fell and starts looking around and finds a blonde hair. And is like, I can't tell if that's a pubic hair. Or just a real long. That's way too long to be pubic hair. That's definitely blonde, though. Wait a second.
Who do I know who's blonde?
Wait a second. Yeah. So she's like,
because like all the Starks are they all have dark hair.
Very dark hair. Yeah. So also she gets that letter from Lysa about the Lannisters.
Yeah.
So already she's like, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Right.
What the fuck's up with the Lannisters?
So she's like, those motherfuckers tried to kill my son.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to King's Landing. And her son Rob's like,
The fuck?
you are an adult. Like, if you leave, I'm the one in winter. Like, I'm ruling.
I'm
like,
the one in charge
yeah.
here.
And she's like, good luck.
Okay.
I hope you do well. So, at the wall,
Mm-hmm.
John and Tyrion reach the wall, and they have an interesting conversation about what the wall is there for. And he's like, it's the guards from the White Walkers. And Tyrion's like, that shit isn't real.
Come on,
Knock it
man.
off.
I thought you were smart.
Yeah, he's like, the Night Watch is like a place for murderers and rapists. So the king and his entourage have gotten all the way down to the crossroads end. Oh, he's dead.
Yes. Get him out of here.
Which is like like they're almost to King's.
It's like halfway to King's Landing.
Yeah, it's like the midpoint. So some shit happens here. Arya makes friends with the baker's son, and they like to sword fight with sticks. And Joffrey, who knows he's marrying Sansa, is trying to impress her by being a cunt. And they're walking around, and he sees them sword fighting, and Joffrey fucking pulls a sword on them for real. And Nymeria, Arya's wolf, is like, oh fuck no, and attacks Joffrey and bites him, and then runs off. He's like, I'm getting out of here. So, the king has to get involved.
Unfortunately,
They have this whole thing where they bring her before the king, and he's like, all right, what the fuck happened? And they're
pull the
screeching.
fucking sword on me.
Joffrey and Arya are screeching at each other, and Sansa saw the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she knew what happened. Joffrey was being a cunt.
Yes.
But because she's going to marry Joffrey, she tells the king that he's correct. And Nymeria is like, I'm going to fucking kill you. So
Sansa, come on, girl.
Robert's like, okay, let's just say everyone was wrong. You're fucking kids. Like, why am I here? Why am I presiding over this stupid fucking thing? And Cersei is like, are you really going to let the person that disfigured your son walk away that easily? Because she's always needling him like this, right? And Robert's like,
yes, indeed I will.
he's not disfigured. He got fucking bit on the arm. Like, it
He'll be fine.
barely drew blood. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't that big of a deal. And she's like, how fucking typical. And he's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Ned, we're going to have to kill Nymeria. And Arya is like, fuck you.
That's my fucking dog.
I already set Nymeria free, and she's far away from here. And so he's like, well, we'll kill Lady then.
Oh.
And Sansa's like, excuse me? And so like Ned puts her direwolf down to appease the queen, more or less, because she's, a huge bitch. Also later on, the Hound, who is like
Not a direwolf, an actual person.
not a direwolf, is he is Joffrey's like he's called the Hound because he's like Joffrey's dog. His name is Sandor Clegane. Finds that butcher's boy and kills him.
Wow.
For Joffrey.
What a jackass.
Yeah. Joffrey, let me tell you, Chris, Joffrey is a huge cunt.
+1.
In Winterfell, Bran wakes up.
Oh, good for him.
All right. Episode 3.
You're gonna have to really pick up the pace here.
No, we're good. We're on track to finish in 2 hours. I just I need our future episodes will have a little less, and I won't do like a world introduction.
Yeah.
Either. Okay. So the Dothraki Sea. Daenerys is starting to find her voice as Khal Drogo's wife.
Yeah.
Which by the way, her title is Khaleesi, right? So Drogo is the Khal of their Khalasar, and Daenerys, his wife, is
Wait for it. Don't get impatient. Oh, there she is.
I forgot. You know what?
Damn, she's big.
I forgot I have.
There we go.
Yeah. And then
Damn, she's narrow.
That's Khal Drogo.
There we go.
Look at that giant hunk of man. I don't know why it distorts the pictures like this. Doesn't matter. So she's starting to find her voice as Khaleesi, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's becoming more confident, and she catches the eye of Jorah, who's like, I will die for you. I know in the book, and this ends up being true in the story as well, or in the show. He is in love with her. So that's Jorah Mormont.
Not so good for him.
Yeah. So Viserys is starting to notice that Daenerys is becoming a little too comfortable with her independence and shit, and attempts to assault her.
Like, look, bitch, I'm the one in charge here.
Like, goes to backhand her, and one of Khal Drogo's blood riders runs up and fucking beats the shit out of him, and was like,
"Good,
you don't get to touch the Khaleesi like that. She's the queen around here, right?" And Viserys, first of all, is like, I don't think anyone's ever hit me in my life.
I don't know if I liked that or not.
Surprise. All this fucking, by the way, Daenerys is pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Now, at the wall.
Who would have guessed that sex makes babies?
Yeah. And when she started enjoying it, they started doing it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So
that would also do it, yeah.
So Jon begins to train as a man of the Night's Watch.
Mm-hmm.
So they do their sword drills and shit. He's already a really great fighter, right? I'm going to put Jon Snow on here too.
There he is.
Now, Alistair Thorne, who's the Master at Arms, he's the guy kind of in charge of everyone's training. And let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge cunt.
+1?
Hates Jon Snow for no reason. Literally no reason at all. He's like, fuck you in particular, and gives him the nickname Lord Snow, which is a huge insult, right? Because a bastard isn't, you don't get a claim on.
You don't inherit anything.
Right. So it's a big
I played Crusader Kings. I know how this goes.
Before Tyrion leaves,
he drinks some more.
Yeah. They tell him, like, the Night's Watch is pathetically staffed. Like, we have enough guys really to staff this castle. And you might remember that like the wall,
it's kind of big.
These are all castles. So this is Castle Black, which is where we are. There's
18 castles?
Yeah. There's East Watch by the Sea. This is West Watch by the Bridge, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's its official name, East Watch by the Sea with the dashes. I think that's really cool.
It's very British.
Yeah. And so Tyrion's like, okay, when I get back to King's Landing, I'll see if I can't get you guys some
more murderers and rapists.
Yeah. At Winterfell. Bran is awake. He learns he'll never walk again.
Oh, kind of sucks.
Which is a huge blow for him as a little boy.
Because he likes to climb things.
And run around and stuff. And he's also a little suicidal, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
King's Landing. Ned arrives at King's Landing to do his job.
Good job, Ned.
Yeah.
Sure, this will go very well for you.
So there's already friction between Ned and Jaime Lannister because Jaime, whose nickname is the Kingslayer, murdered the king.
Yeah.
And Ned's like, I don't care how fucking crazy he was. I don't care how many people he was going to kill. You're fucking scum for killing your king. And Jaime's like, I'm going to go fuck my sister. I'll be right back.
Presumably he did not say that part out loud.
Nope. So Ned's first council meeting, which Robert does not go to his council. He's supposed to go to his small council meetings. Robert cannot be bothered to govern. Robert likes to drink and fuck.
Honestly, good for him.
Yeah.
He's living the dream.
The war that got him into power is what he loved. Once he got there, he's like, I don't give a shit about this. Like, I don't care about ruling or governing or any of this shit. So you guys are going to do it.
Governing is boring.
Right. So the small council is like, Robert has demanded an attorney for you, Ned. And he's like, great. Can we pay for it? And they're like, no. In fact, we are so seriously in debt, we may never come out of it. And he's like, So let's not do the tournament. And they're like, no, we got to do the tournament because that's what Robert wants.
Well,
So
fuck.
Catelyn arrives at King's Landing. No one knows she's there, by the way. And she hits up her old friend Peter Baelish. They're childhood friends. He's been in love with her since they were children. He takes her to, because he owns like a chain of brothels. It's like an Arby's franchise.
Yeah,
Like,
that's his thing.
right. So he takes her to one of his brothels to keep her safe, right? So no one, and he arranges a visit between. So like he brings Ned to her. He's like, Ned, I want you to come and check this brothel out. Ned, the fucking honorable, was like,
excuse me?
and then like he's about to like punch him in the face,
Yeah.
and then like Catelyn sticks her head out the window. It's like, Ned, stop it! And he's like, what are you doing? Why are you at a brothel? So there's a discussion about this dagger, right?
Oh, yeah, that weird fucking knife that they tried to shank Bran with.
Right. So Littlefinger is like, so this is a meeting between Catelyn, Varys, the eunuch, and Peter, who's also called Littlefinger.
Yes.
Littlefinger's like, that's my fucking dagger. And Catelyn's like, explain.
Did you try to fucking kill my son?
And he's like, I lost that dagger in a bet or something to Tyrion Lannister months ago. And she's like, I fucking
The
Lannisters,
Lannisters,
of course.
say.
Yeah. So Sansa and Arya hate each other.
Understandable.
They're fundamentally different people.
Yes.
Sansa wants to be a lady.
See, I would have said because Arya got Sansa's dog killed.
No, that too. But it's like there's nothing is going well between them. So Arya's like, Dad, I don't want to be a lady. Sounds fucking boring. And I got this cool fucking sword that John gave
Can I just
me.
go stab people?
And he's like, okay.
He's like, not for a couple seasons.
If you're going to run around with a fucking sword, which you should not be doing, but I apparently have no power over you, you are going to get sword fighting lessons. So he signs her up with Syrio Forel.
That sounds like a big name.
Where are we going to put Syrio? We'll put him
near Arya, maybe?
Yeah, we'll put him over here. I think he's in my random folder. Yep, there he is. Who is the first sword of Bravos?
Okay.
Which is to say,
sounds impressive.
He's a fucking badass. And it's interesting because he's barely taller than Arya. He's kind of a smaller man.
Okay.
He's got like dark curly hair.
Yeah.
And he's like, I will teach you all about sword fighting, but none of the sword fighting they do here, because that shit's so stupid. And you're little.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to teach you how to fight with your stature and be able to actually kill people. So
Arya's like, hell yeah, I want to kill all the people.
yes. And she will kill a lot of them.
But not for a couple seasons.
Yes. So episode 4, Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things. In King's Landing.
Oh, you never actually got the king back to King's Landing?
Oh, he's still at Crossroads End.
Yeah. Wait for it. There we go. You went past it.
Yeah.
There we go. We're back.
Okay. So Ned starts to become curious about how Jon Arryn died.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he starts asking some questions. And he finds Grandmeister Pycelle. And he's like, what happened in Jon Arryn's final days? And he's like, well, he got suddenly sick. It burned through him like crazy. And he just fucking died.
That sounds like poison.
Yeah. He was researching the houses of the Seven Kingdoms. We're not really sure why he had this book. And his last words were, the seed is strong. And none of us know what the fuck that means.
That sounds like a sex joke.
Yeah. And so Ned and Littlefinger decide to be allied. And he gets some info from Littlefinger. And it turns out that Jon Arryn was visiting a boy who was an apprentice to a blacksmith in King's Landing named Gendry. And he's like, that's weird. I'm going to go see what that's all about.
Yeah.
Goes down. He meets this kid named Gendry. He's not really a kid. He's like a teenager.
Yeah.
Looks exactly like Robert. I mean, like when he was that age. And he's like, huh.
Okay.
So he doesn't say it to him, but he's like, you're Robert's bastard. Because Robert will fuck anything.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So
I remember our friend Joe would come over to your place sometimes. Is Robert the character that makes the whores line, or is that someone else?
You're thinking of Sopranos.
Whores and whores? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But he does,
please continue.
Yeah. And also they plan to question John Aaron's former squire because they thought maybe he would
Yeah.
So the first day of Ned's tourney, Hand of the King tourney. So okay, we're going to go question John Aaron's former squire. Barristan Selmy shows up and he's like, I have some bad news. John's former squire is dead.
Oh.
He was killed in the tournament. I'm so sorry. And they're like, okay. So,
well, moving on.
So this bunch over here, can I shift click? Oh, apparently I can.
Sure.
They go to Vestithrak, which is like the Dothraki capital.
Okay.
And Viserys is getting very impatient. He wants his army. He doesn't like Daenerys getting to boss him around and shit. And he's just becoming more and more belligerent.
Yeah.
So Jorah and Daenerys have a conversation. And he's like, that it doesn't matter who rules as long as they're a good person. And Daenerys is like, yeah, Viserys is, let me tell you, Chris, Viserys is a cunt, is what Daenerys said.
+1?
Yeah. So at the wall, there arrives a new recruit.
Oh. Dramatic.
Called Samwell Tarly.
I remember this guy.
Samwell is obese. He does not like to fight. He has a weird high voice.
Is it the exact opposite of the kind of guys who should be sent here to fight zombies?
Right. So it turns out that his father made him join the Night's Watch because he thought he was unworthy of the family name and threatened to kill him if he didn't go.
Oh.
So Sam is picked on by everybody,
yes,
more or less, particularly the other recruits in Sir Alistair Thorne, who, let me tell you, Chris, the guy's a real cunt. With the exception of Jon Snow, who is
because Jon Snow is a good person.
He is Eddard Stark's son, and he would never pick on someone. So they kind of they don't necessarily make friends, but he's like, dude, you got to pull your shit together. This is the Night's Watch. So at Winterfell, Tyrion's on his way back to King's Landing, right? He stops by in Winterfell to take a break. Bran's awake, and he is very curious about that. And he gives to Bran a gift that is a design for a special saddle for paralyzed people from the waist down.
Sure.
So that he can ride horses.
That's very nice.
And then Tyrion is like, see you later.
Godspeed.
Heads home. He's like, where's Catelyn? And it was like, we don't fucking know where Catelyn is.
She just kind of disappeared one day.
So Tyrion heads home. Here it is. What? So Tyrion stops at the Crossroads Inn.
Very popular place.
Yes. And notices that Catelyn is on her way up to Winterfell. Now, remember, the last thing Catelyn heard was that dagger
was in the hands of the Lannisters.
Yeah. And Catelyn looks over at him. She stands up. There are a bunch of knights, a bunch of people there about doing their own business. And she's like, I'm Catelyn Stark, formerly Catherine Tully. Many of you are bannermen for both families. I order you to take this man into custody and bring him back to Winterfell, everyone. We're going to Winterfell so that he can stand trial. And every fucking knight in that inn stands up, pulls their swords out. And Tyrion's like, well, fuck.
Okay, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah. So Tyrion is now under arrest, right? Episode 5, The Wolf and the Lion.
Okay.
So, now she told everyone that they were going to Winterfell. She said it very loudly.
Yes.
But they're not going to Winterfell they're going to the Vale,
Okay.
to the Eyrie, where her sister and her son Robin.
That's pretty sneaky of her.
Yes. On the way, they get attacked by like bandits, but
They have knights. They're fine.
yeah. Well, actually, Tyrion saves Catelyn's life,
Oh.
and she's like, "I don't fuck you still
Don't
Yeah.
trust you.
And like he's like, "You get that I didn't try to kill your son," and she's like, "No, I don't get that. I think you."
I think you did.
He's like, "Well, that's fucking stupid." So they get to the Eyrie, and let me tell you about the Eyrie. The thing that everyone knows about the Eyrie is that it has a moon door.
A moon door.
The castle is at the top of a mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and the moon door is just a door all the way down. They open the door, and all you see under it is just like 1,000 feet.
So that's how they kill people.
Yeah. And they love that fucking thing. So here, Lysa, Catelyn's sister, and her son, Robin, who is like the Lord of the Eyrie since Jon Arryn died, are like running things. He is 8 years old, I think.
Yeah.
And his only concern, he has two big concerns.
Okay.
Being an 8-year-old. First, and for some fucking reason, still breastfeeds.
That's weird.
It's real fucking weird. His second concern, seeing people thrown out the moon door.
Okay.
Doesn't care why. Doesn't care what the reason is.
He just likes to watch them fall.
Doesn't care if they're guilty or innocent. It's like out the fucking moon door. So they put Tyrion in prison, and Robin will preside over his trial.
Which means he's going out the moon door.
Yeah. So, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna make the little man fly." So King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get through this.
A little bit at a time.
Second day of the tourney, King Robert wants to compete. He's like, "Oh, get out there and fight."
Would not go well for him in a fair fight, but no one's gonna go.
Well, actually, he might be able to do all right. I mean, remember, he's a fierce fighter. He's fat as fuck now, but like, Ned is like, "Listen, first of all, you're too fat for your armor. Second, no one would dare touch you.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you're the king."
Yeah. So stop that." And he's like, "Okay." So they have their attorney. There's a mountain between. There's a moment between the mountain and Sir Loras Tyrell of Highgarden.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I bring him up is because here, I'll do it over here. So Stannis, Robert's brother, next oldest brother, is married. Loras Renly is not married.
Oh, okay.
The reason is because he's got a really cute boyfriend.
Oh, good for him.
Named Loras, who is this like amazing knight, like a really good fighter. He's called the Knight of Flowers, I think.
Can't possibly end well for them, but good for them.
Yeah. They're very much in love. There's lots of gay sex between them. It's great. So there's a whole thing there. So Varys tells Ned that Jon Arryn was killed by a poison. Good call.
Yeah.
Called the Tears of Lys. And he's like, maybe his now dead squire did it. And Ned goes, "It seems a little too convenient.
A little fishy.
He's just dead, yeah." Arya sword training has started.
How's that going for her?
Well, Syrio Forel has her chasing feral cats across the Red Keep. Because you got to be quick to catch a feral cat.
Catch a cat, you can catch
Not
a man.
a cat, a feral cat, right? Okay. So she chases this cat into like one of the dungeons of the Red Keep and overhears Varys and this other mysterious man talking, and they appear to be conspiring against the crown.
Oh.
So Arya goes back to her dad. She tries to warn him, but she's just a little kid.
Yeah.
She's not making sense.
You don't know what you heard.
Yeah, Ned's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" She's like, "It was something about a thing and a big elephant." And he's like, "What?
I don't have time for this."
Yeah, he's like, "I have to go to work." So, also Ned learns that Catelyn has arrested Tyrion. He's like, "Son of a bitch." Oh no. So there's a small council meeting. They learn about Daenerys' pregnancy from a spy that we don't know who it is yet.
Okay. It's totally the night guy, isn't it?
This is a huge problem for Robert. Because
You don't want your enemies to have heirs.
There's a kid, Dothraki are involved, and he's like, I want her assassinated. And Ned's like, the fuck, man? She's like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And he's like, and she won't make it to year 16.
She's old enough to fuck. She's
Yeah.
old enough to die.
And Ned's like, I'm not doing that. She's a fucking girl. And he resigns.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, good for him.
that, yeah, no surprise though. And that makes Robert really sad. There's a conversation between him and Cersei, by the way, where they're so vapid toward each other. They really hate each other. And they're both drinking. And Robert was like, it was good at one point, right, between us. And Cersei was like, not really. But what are you going to do? And he's like,
political marriages, man.
Yep. And he's like, sorry, you weren't Lyanna. I'm going to go drink myself to sleep now. So Renly and Loras have a little tumble in their bed.
Mm-hmm.
And Loras is like, you should be the king, Renly. And he's like, boy, that's treason. we don't do that. So Littlefinger and Ned figure out that Jon Arryn was trying to track down all of Robert's bastards.
That seems like a very large list.
And Ned was like, why? And Littlefinger's like, I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know. While Ned is doing some investigating in the street, he's attacked by Jaime and the Lannister men because Catelyn has taken Tyrion. Jaime has all of Ned's men killed. Wounds Ned, puts a spear through his leg, and is like, you get me back Tyrion or I'm going to fucking kill you. And then he fucks off. And Ned's like, I'm going to pass out.
Understandable.
Yeah. Episode 6, A Golden Crown.
Okay.
This is an award win, like a fan favorite episode. King's Landing.
Yes.
Cersei has openly accused Ned of kidnapping.
Okay.
And it's like, Robert, do something. He's like, no, fuck. Get off my ass about this. And
it's just Tyrion. He's a midget. No one cares.
Yeah. And she's like, you fucking do something about this or we're never having sex again. He's like, we don't have sex anyway. Like we had our.
Why do you think I fuck whores all the time?
We had our kids, and that was the last time. Like, bring me some wine. So Robert and Ned reconcile, and Robert's like, it would be a really great way for me to solve all this political unrest. Ned's like, you work really hard at being a king and try to solve the problem. He's like, no. I'm going to go on a hunt. I'm going to go away from here to the Kingswood and have a hunt.
Surely that will resolve all of my problems.
And Ned's like, that's a bad idea. And he's like, you know what? Fuck you. That's what. By the way, when I'm gone, you're going to be in charge. You're going to be the regent. And Ned's like, fuck. Okay. So, Arya continues her sword lessons with Seer Farrell.
Is she still chasing feral cats?
No, he's teaching her the sword,
good.
right? And he's really fucking good. But he's teaching her other lessons too, like the Bravosi, where he's from, have different religious views and stuff, and they talk about death and all this other stuff. And Seer Farrell says to her, they talk about gods and death and everything, and he says, "There's only one God, and his name is Death." And then he says, "What do you say to the God of death?" And Arya's like, "I don't fucking know." And he's like, "Not today." And she's like, "That's badass.
Yeah.
Give me some more of that kind of wisdom, please." And then he beats the shit out of her with a wooden sword, right?
Like you do.
Yeah. So while Robert is away, Ned learns that the Mountain, who, by the way, I don't think we've gotten into this.
He's the Hound's brother.
Yes. They're. Let's see. Where do we put the Hound? Up here.
Up. Yeah, there he is.
So his brother, Sir Gregor Clegane. Now you might see him and be like, "That's not the guy I remember." It's because this part goes through 3 actors, and this is the first one. So he finds out that the Mountain is riding up and down the countryside in Riverrun.
Okay.
Under under the orders of Tywin Lannister, Riverrun, terrorizing everyone.
Okay.
As revenge for Tyrion.
Oh, okay.
Being jailed. And Ned is like, okay, Beric Dondarrion, stand up. And he stands up. And he's like, you go south the mountain. He's like, got it, boss.
Gotcha.
So he leaves. And then he's like, as regent of the king, or the throne or whatever, I formally summoned Tywin Lannister to answer for his crimes.
Okay.
This is a huge deal because no one summons Tywin anywhere.
Yeah.
Like he is so incredibly powerful in this world that Ned, like Robert would never summon him, right? And so he's like, fuck it, bring him here. I want to have a word with him about what he's doing. So Ned is like, war is going to break out.
Turns out Robert was right.
He pulls Arya and Sansa, his two daughters. He's like, you guys are going home. Shit's about to go down. I don't want you guys hurt. Sansa is pissed because she's going to marry Joffrey. And she crosses her arms and she goes, but I'm going to have golden-haired babies with Joffrey. And Ned stops. He's like, what? And she goes, I'm going to have golden-haired babies with Joffrey. And then like they leave and he's like, he starts to think about it. He pulls that book out that John Aaron was looking through, the history of all the families and shit.
Yeah.
And he opens up the Baratheon family record that has a list of all of the births in their family. Blah, 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 Baratheon, black of hair. Blah, 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 Baratheon, black of hair. Blah, 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 all of them.
Yeah.
Baratheon, black of hair. He starts thinking about all of Robert's bastards. Gendry, black hair. This one baby he found in a brothel, black hair. And then he gets to Robert's entry in the book. Joffrey Baratheon, gold of hair. Marcella Baratheon, gold of hair. Tommen Baratheon, gold of hair. And Ned's like, he fucked his sister. Except he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that yet. He's just like, those aren't Robert's kids. They're illegitimate children.
Yeah.
Which means that Joffrey has no claim to that throne. And Ned is like, what the fuck am I going to do about this?
That's a huge deal.
Yeah. Now, at the Vale, Tyrion confesses. But he confesses not to the crime he is accused of, but to a bunch of other stuff. He's like, I masturbated in a soup and all this other stuff. And
good for him, honestly.
And Tyrion's like, you know what? I'm a dwarf. I have this right. I demand a trial by combat. And because I'm a dwarf, I can appoint a champion.
Okay. Yeah.
And Liza's like, technically, and he's like, no, that's how we fucking do it.
That is the law.
And she's like, okay, who's going to be your champion? He's like, my brother, Jaime Lannister. And everyone's like, shit.
Fuck.
Because Jaime Lannister is a brilliant swordsman. Like, he's so fucking good. He was knighted at like age 14 or something. Actually, a lot like Vanestra Rowe, right? And they're like, that's going to take too long. You got to pick someone else. And he's like, shit.
Fuck.
So he turns to the crowd. He's like, anybody? And one guy, Bronn, only name
Bronn.
Bronn. He's like, I'll fucking do it. You're rich. You pay me a lot of money and I'll do it.
Sure, okay.
So they have a trial by combat. And Bronn is kind of a dirty fighter. But they fight. He gets a beat on the champion for Lysa, stabs him in the throat, pushes him out the moon door.
Oh, good for him.
And Lysa's like, you don't fight with honor. And Bronn, in a classic line, says, yeah, but he did. as the dude's like falling down the rocks, right? And so Tyrion is free to leave. And so Tyrion,
what are you gonna do?
Tyrion and Bronn leave, right? So in Vastethrak,
all the way across the ocean.
So Daenerys has this idea. Like, she keeps getting this urge to put her dragon eggs into the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has one like on the fire, and she picks it up and it doesn't burn her. And one of her handmaids is like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I know, that is kind of weird. So they have a ritual, because she's pregnant, at the Dash Kalin, which is the governing body for the Dothraki. It's all the cows, like, because there are a bunch of cows, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all their widows are like the governing body.
Okay.
When your cow dies, by law, you must go back and be in this, thing.
Yeah.
So they do a ritual where Daenerys has to eat an entire stallion heart.
Okay.
And she does. And everyone's real impressed.
Yeah, good for her.
And they proclaim that her unborn son will be the cow that will unite the world. Okay. And Daenerys names him Rhaego, which is a mix between Drogo, her husband, and her older brother, Rhaegar, who is the one that kidnapped Lyanna.
Yeah.
Okay. So Winterfell, he gets that saddle built. And he and Rob and Theon go on a little ride, and they get attacked by wildlings who are running south of the wall because they know what's up there too. Yeah. And they're like, nope, fuck it.
Nope, we're out of here.
And they attack them because they're going to kidnap Bran and like try to sell him for money. They killed two of the wildlings, and they spare the third, whose name is Osha. Where's my random folder? Where is she?
She's not in here?
Oh. Yeah. I guess she's not.
She the ginger?
No, she's no, not even close. Maybe I put her in with the Starks.
It doesn't look like it.
That's fine. I know I have her here. So I'll just put her. By the way,
he's down there. Yeah.
He's in Winterfell.
King's Landing.
Yeah, King's Landing.
That's right.
No.
Nope.
Hold on. He's here.
That's right there. You're come down there. Too many characters.
So this is Osha. Crazy fucking wildly. Okay. Right? And so they spare her and they're like, you're a servant now for House Stark. And she's like, I guess.
Okay.
But by the way, White Walkers are coming and we're all going to die. So I hope you're happy. So back in Vestothrak, everyone loves Daenerys.
Yeah.
And Viserys is like, that will not do. So he tries to steal the dragon eggs to sell them for ships. And Jorah stops him.
How does that work out for him?
Viserys is enraged, and he walks in on this gathering they're having with all these Dothraki, Khal Drogo, and Daenerys, and he holds a sword to Daenerys, and he tells Khal Drogo that he'll cut his son out of her belly, and that he demands that he makes good on his offer to take over, the Seven Kingdoms. And Drogo, who is at this point really into Daenerys now. Like they're actually like they kind of work now, and it's kind of weird. But he loves her and he loves that child. And so he pretends to acquiesce so that Viserys puts his sword down. And his blood riders grab him. One of them breaks one of his arms. And Viserys is like, you promised me a crown of gold, meaning he'll rule over the Seven Kingdoms. And so Drogo walks over to their giant chili pot, dumps the chili out, puts it back on the fire, puts a bunch of gold jewelry in it and melts it down, walks it over and pours it over his head.
Shit.
Viserys, fucking dead as a doornail. Gone. No more Viserys.
He earned it.
Yep.
Honestly.
And you know what Daenerys's reaction to all this is?
Good.
More specifically, he was no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Interesting.
So episode 7, you win or you die. We're in the Westerlands.
Okay.
And Tyrion and Bronn are on their way back. Now, Oh, no. Sorry. Westerlands is where Tywin is.
Yes, they're over there.
Wait, do you see the Westerlands?
I assume it's just in the west.
It's like over here somewhere, right?
Okay, yeah.
So Tywin Lannister now is just, he's got his army up and he's like, I want my fucking son.
All right, bitch, you summoned me, you're getting me.
Yeah, he's played by the brilliant Charles Dance, by the way, who was fucking amazing. And your character introduction to him is him skinning a deer.
Yeah,
He just cutting this deer. And Jaime, after attacking Ned, fled the city and went to his father.
Mm-hmm.
And so they talk. He's real pissed at Tywin's whole thing is, the family legacy, right? And Jaime, his oldest son, is a member of the Kingsguard, can't have kids, can't carry on the name. Cersei is Robert's wife.
Mm-hmm.
His son, he fucking hates Tyrion because when Tyrion was born, his mother, Tywin's wife, died in childbirth. And so he blames Tyrion for it. So he's like, fucking quit the Kingsguard. Like, fucking, you need to, do the family thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
If you only knew.
So they think of the thing. Jaime is going to take half of the army to attack River Run, and everything's going to work out. So in Winterfell, Osha, the new servant, was like, hey, we were running from the White Walkers, and everyone just laughs at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the Wall, you might remember that Jon Snow's uncle Benjen is also a man of the Night's Watch.
Yes.
He leaves for an expedition north of the Wall, and his horse comes back, but he does not come back.
Oh.
Right? Now the trainees are all given their jobs, the things that they're going to do for the rest of their life. Jon wants to be a ranger.
Mm-hmm.
He instead gets to be a steward.
Okay. Well.
And he's like, that fucking sucks.
We can't always get what we want.
He's going to be personal steward to Jeor Mormont, which means he's going to be emptying his chamber pot and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam is like, you fucking idiot. You're being groomed for leadership. You just don't. You clearly probably shouldn't have it because you're a fucking idiot. But like, he's grooming you to be Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Yeah. And Jon's like, that's not that bad.
How about that?
So they take their vows, and they are now official men of the Night's Watch.
Okay, good for them.
And then Ghost brings them a dismembered hand.
Oh, that's not so good.
And Jon's like, the fuck is this?
You fucking idiot.
Yeah.
It's a dismembered hand.
Yeah. So Vesta Thrak. Drogo still doesn't really care about the whole Iron Throne drama. He's like, that's across the fucking sea. None of us can swim.
Yeah. Not our problem.
But Daenerys is like, this is my destiny, is to take back the Iron Throne. And it turns out Jorah was the one that was spying.
Of course, yes.
But he's like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And there's an assassination attempt on Daenerys that he stops at the order of Robert.
Yeah.
So he stops it. Drogo is enraged by the assassination attempt and was like, fuck it, we're invading. We're going to do it. And she's like, that's great. So back at King's Landing.
Killing a couple birds with one stone there.
Yep. King's Landing. By the way, he's on a hunt. Ned confronts Cersei.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
those aren't Robert's kids.
Those aren't Robert's kids. And she's like, nope. And like, he's like, I didn't expect you to admit to it.
Huh, okay.
And she's like, fucking Robert, dude. Do you know on our first night together, he called me Lyanna?
Okay.
And it's like, I don't care. I really don't care. Like
I don't care about your marital problems.
Yeah. And I can't remember if she admits to the incest thing, because I don't think he's even put it together, or maybe he has. So Ned is like, look, when Robert comes back, he's going to kill all of your children, because I'm going to tell him, you need to run. Like, out of respect for your children, I'm telling you, get them and get as far away from get as far away from here as you can. And she's like, I don't think I will. And there's this great line from her where she says, when you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die, right? Mm-hmm. Robert returns from his hunts, but Robert has been mortally wounded.
Oh,
by a boar. Something happened.
Don't fuck with boars. They're serious business.
Something happened. Robert was already drinking. He seemed to lose his ability to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And a boar got him.
You saying he was drugged?
Practically disemboweled him. But he's still alive and
Barely.
conscious.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So they bring him back and he's like holding his guts in.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, Ned, come over here. And so Ned comes over there and he's like, I need you to take my last will and testament. And Cersei's standing there the whole time, freaking the fuck out, wondering if Ned's just going to be like, your children are bastards, right?
Yeah.
But Ned doesn't say anything because it like Robert's clearly going to die.
Yes.
So Robert kicks everyone out. He's like, Ned, I need you to take my will and testament. He's like, okay. He grabs the pen and he's like, I want you to be the king until my son is of age.
Okay. So regent.
And so Ned's like, okay. So he writes it down. He said, I appoint Ned Stark to be regent, blah, blah, blah. Instead of writing, until my son comes of age, he writes until my rightful heir comes of age. And he hands it to Robert, who I don't even know can read, just signs it. Yeah. Right. And then like one of the last things he tells Ned is like, be a better king than me. And you were right about Daenerys. We should stop trying to assassinate her. Right. So Renly tries to convince Ned just to take power. And he's like, no. Ned sends a letter to Stannis Baratheon, tells him everything. Oh. He's like, they're bastards. Jaime and Cersei are fucking. You are the rightful heir. You need to come here and be the king. Get the fuck over here. Yeah. I'm going to be the king until you get here. And then when you get here, you're going to be the king. So he sends that letter. By the way, they send letters via Raven. Okay. Yeah. It's like the owls in Harry Potter, except we're ravens.
How many more pages do you have?
Just like 2. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're almost there. Yep. Ned tells Littlefinger about the incest plot. He's like, yeah, Cersei and Jaime are fucking, and Littlefinger's like, what? That's like crazy. No way. So Littlefinger's like, okay, I've got your back, because he's in charge of the City Watch, the Gold Cloaks. Yes. And he's like, I'll be there with the City Watch when you break the news. Robert dies. Cersei immediately puts Joffrey on the Iron Throne and calls everyone in to swear fealty. It's just like fucking House of the Dragon, right? Yeah. So Ned shows up, Robert's last will and testament in hand, and was like, the king ordered me to be the king until his rightful heir was of age. And Cersei's like, let me see that. And he hands it to her and she rips it. She's like, fuck you, it's just a piece of paper. And then she orders her men to take Ned prisoner. And then Ned orders the City Watch to take Cersei prisoner. Then the City Watch starts killing Stark men. Oh. And Littlefinger comes up behind him, grabs him at knife point, and was like, I told you, motherfucker, you should never have trusted me. And Ned's like,
fair enough. I shouldn't have.
Ned's like, you know what, Chris, this guy's a real cunt.
+1.
Yeah. So episode 8, the pointy end. Maybe I do have a few more pages. Jeez. So a lot of this I can kind of get through easily. So Robert finds out what's going on because he's been ordered to swear fealty to Joffrey. Rob finds out that his father is in prison and is like, we're going to war, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
So he calls up the banners and he leaves. And he leaves Bran, the Lord of Winterfell. And Bran's like, I'm 8 years old. And he's like, you and your brother hold down the fort. And he's like,
we have the combined age of 12.
I have not hit puberty yet, even. And he's like, you'll be fine. You're doing great. See you later. So there's this whole thing. So like Tyrion and Bronn meet up with some like marauder savages in the Vale and convince them to go and see Tywin and fight for him. Right. Okay. Yeah. Now, you might know that like Game of Thrones is all known about like the big battles and shit. That is not true for episode or for season 1.
They didn't have the budget.
There's like one big battle in that book, I think, and this is how they do the battle. So like Tywin's like, Tyrion, you're going to be on the front lines because like Tywin wants him to die, right? And so Tyrion the night before meets a whore named Shay, and they kind of fall in love.
Yeah.
The next morning, he and his misfit band of marauders go out, like they all get out of their tents and they go to line up, and one of them accidentally hits him in the head with a hammer because he's small.
Yeah.
And he falls over and passes out, and he wakes up and they're like, the battle's done. And he's like, well, shit. And now this, Rob pulls a really cool maneuver on them. He makes Tywin believe that he's going to attack one place and actually attacks another place and gets
Sun
this,
Tzu shit.
yeah, and gets this huge fucking military win against Tywin Lannister, who is a good military leader, right? And so everyone starts calling Rob I can't remember. It's something Wolf.
But
It's a cool ass fucking name.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So at the wall, they find all of Benjen's friends. They find their bodies.
Oh.
But they don't find Benjen. And so they bring back the bodies to Castle Black. And late at night, after everyone's gone to bed, Ghost comes up to Jon and does a lassie. Something's wrong. Yeah. And he's like, what, Jorah in his blah, 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 and in his chambers, let's go. And he runs in there, and one of those dead motherfuckers is walking around.
Oh.
Like trying to eat G.R. Mormont. And so Jon sets him on fire.
Okay.
And it kills him. He's like, good to know.
Okay,
fire kills.
Important information. Yeah. Fire kills zombies.
Right. So Drogon needs to rape and pillage to get money to get their ships to take Daenerys, right?
Sure.
Their whole thing is to take make slaves out of everyone. Daenerys is like, oh hell no, I'm not going to do that.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, and so she claims all the slaves for herself and then like frees them. And one of his blood riders is like, this bitch. And Drogo's like, fuck you. And he's like, no, fuck you. I'm going to be the Khal. And they have a fight. Khal Drogo kills him really easily, but he gets a little cut on his chest, right? So in King's Landing, Ned is in prison. Sansa is under house arrest. Arya is having a sword lesson with Syrio Forel.
Okay.
And Meryn Trant, who is one of the King's Guard, and let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge cunt.
+1.
Shows up with a bunch of Lannister men and was like, Arya, your father wants to see you. And she goes to walk with him, and Syrio like stops her and he's like, if her father wants to see her, why are you here? And he's like, fuck you. Like, we're taking her to her father. And he's like, no, you're not.
No.
And so Meryn Trant tells, like, he's like with 6 guys, right? He's like, fucking kill this motherfucker. He has a practice sword. Beats this shit so thoroughly out of all 6 of these guys, and none of them are conscious at the end.
Jesus.
Fucking swinging around with his, pulling their capes over their heads and shit. And Meryn Trant pulls out his sword, and I'm not sure how no one thought of this. It cuts his sword so that it he breaks it, right?
Yeah.
And so Syrio Forel has this little stub. It's like the hilt and like a little bit of the blade.
Yeah.
And he raises it up like he's going to fight him. And he tells Arya to run. And he looks at her as she's about to run away. And he says, what do you say to the god of death? And she says, not today. And he's like, no, get the fuck out of here. And she leaves. And then Meryn Trant kills him. It's very, very sad. But also kind of badass because he really does paddle like some ass. So Joffrey makes some changes. Barristan Selmy isn't going to be Lord Commander of the King's Watch anymore. It's going to be Meryn Trant. I'm going to tell you, Chris, that guy's a cunt. So episode 9, Baelor.
How many episodes are there?
10.
Okay.
We're almost there.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
Almost there.
The next one will be shorter than this. So Khal Drogo's wound is infected, and he's
because
in
it's the
trouble.
Middle Ages and no one knows
Yep.
about antibiotics.
They find a healer in that group of slaves,
Mhm.
and she's like, "Okay, I can save him. I'm going to do some blood magic. I'm going to put him in the tent. You cannot come in that tent." And they're like, "Okay." So while she's trying to heal Khal Drogo, Dany goes into premature labor,
Oh.
and Jorah takes her into the tent and was like, "What the fuck do I do?" So at the wall, as a thanks for saving his life, J.R. Mormont gives Jon Snow his ancestral family sword
Okay.
called Longclaw, and the hilt has a bear on it, which is the Mormont family sigil, and he fashions a wolf instead and puts it on there, and it's Valyrian steel. It's not something we've talked about. Like the cat's paw dagger is Valyrian steel. It's a very special kind of steel that isn't really around anymore. There are like only a handful of weapons that use it, and it's very fancy.
It's magic,
yeah,
basically.
Yeah, pretty much. So, Rob makes a deal with Walder Frey, who's played by the guy that plays Filch in Harry Potter. And let me tell you, Chris, Walder Frey is a huge cunt. Okay,
+1.
He's like, "You let me through this part that you control here, and I will marry one of your daughters, and my sister Arya will marry one of your sons." And he's like, "Fucking great."
Deal.
Varys visits Ned in prison and is like, Sansa's life is in danger. No one knows where the fuck Arya is, and he's like, "That makes sense." And he's like, "You need to confess or they're gonna kill her." And he's like, "Okay, I'll confess." And so they bring Ned out in public. Everyone's gathered around. King Joffrey is there. Sansa is there. Everyone is telling Joffrey to have mercy. Even Cersei is like, "We need to avoid war. He's going to confess. Send him to the wall." And he's like, "Okay." This is such a big deal for Ned because he does not lie about anything, but it's his daughter. Like, what is he going to do?
Yeah.
And so he publicly confesses to treason. And King Joffrey was like, "Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I sentence you to die." And using Ned's own sword, they cut the man's head off.
Jesus.
In front of his daughter, in front of everyone. Arya is there. She's in the crowd watching. Before Ned is brought up there, I told you about the Wandering Crow, the guy from the Night's Watch. They're kind of buddies.
Yeah.
And he tells him, like, "I need you to find Arya. She's over there, and get her out." And they kill him. And that's the end of the episode.
Oh,
fucking, yep. So episode 10, Fire and Blood. Joffrey, let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge cunt.
+1.
Takes Sansa out to look at her father's head on a spike. And then all of the all the other people from their little group that was traveling.
And he thinks that's romantic or something?
No, he just wants to torment Sansa.
Mm.
And there's a moment there where they're standing on a bridge over a dry moat, and it's like 100-foot drop. And she's like,
"I could just push you down here."
Yeah, and she like walks toward him, and the Hound stops her and was like, "Listen, this will go way easier for you if you just play along." And it's sympathetic. Like, he's not trying to be a dick, but he's like, things can get a lot worse for you. So calm the fuck down. Oh, he also has Maren Trent hit her and like beat her up and shit. It's disgusting.
It's really fucked up.
Arya escapes King's Landing.
Okay.
With the Night's Watch recruiter. And he's like, "I'm going to take you back to Winterfell, but you need to pretend to be a boy named Ari." And she's like,
"This is all I've ever wanted my entire life.
Thank you so much." And so she leaves with a couple of other boys named Lami and Hot Pie and Gendry, who's like, "Fuck King's Landing, I don't want to be here anymore."
Sure.
Rob has learned of his father's execution and has vowed to kill every Lannister ever.
Say, he would not take that very well.
He's fucking over it. And Catelyn is like, "We need to get Sansa and Arya back home. Like, that's the thing here." And he's like, "No, I'm going to kill all of them." So the North, and let me tell you, the North are full of stubborn fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
When they find out Ned has been executed, The North is like, we're
Fuck 'em.
we're an independent nation now. Fuck the king. The North is its own thing, and they name Rob the king in the North, and so they're going to be their own kingdom.
Okay.
And it's a great fucking scene. They all stand up and draw their swords and say "King of the North," and it's a good spot to mention that Jawadi, the guy that wrote the music for this series, the music is so good. It's just so great. So Jamie is captured by Rob's army.
Okay.
And so they're going to use him to do some exchange.
Yeah.
Jamie admits to Catelyn that she pushed Bran out the window. And she's like, fucking why? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And he's like, sisters, am I right? He doesn't say why. He doesn't tell her that that's why. But so Joffrey names Tywin the Hand of the King. But he's in the middle of this thing right now.
Yeah.
So he sends Tyrion to be Hand of the King in his stead. Right. So like he gets the letter from Joffrey. He's like, you need Tywin, your grandfather, your Hand of the King. And he tries to sue for peace with Rob. He's like, I have a note from the king.
I need to go do something. Yeah. Can we just chill for a minute?
And Rob's like, you can eat shit and die in a fire, motherfucker. I'm coming for you. And he's like, okay, I'll send my son.
Fine.
So he forbids Tyrion from bringing his new horse Shay, but they're pretty much in love now, so he takes her anyway. Yeah. At the wall, Jon decides to desert the Night's Watch when he finds out that Ned was killed.
Okay, understandable.
And his friends stop him. And they're like, look, I'm sorry your dad died.
Can't actually do this.
Yeah, I'm sorry your dad died. But you saw that dead motherfucker get up and walk around. This is more important. What we're doing here, our job here, to be the shield that guards the realms of men, that's our job. And that's more important than your dead dad. I'm sorry. And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. JR knew that Jon was about to ditch, but he was like, I don't fucking care. Yeah. And JR was like, going on an expedition north. We're going to find fucking Benjen. We're going to figure out what the fuck's going on with these White Walkers. You want to go with me? And Jon's like, oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thought you would never ask.
All right. In Lazar.
Okay.
The Blood Witch played a trick and traded Daenerys's unborn child's life for Khal Drogo's.
Oh.
So Daenerys goes into early labor, gives birth to a hideously disfigured baby with scales and a tail. And the Mary Mazdur, the Blood Witch, was like, shouldn't have invaded my fucking town. And Khal Drogo is alive, but he's comatose. He's just sitting there with his eyes open.
Yeah.
Breathing, that's about fucking it, right?
Yeah. And
so Daenerys is like, and as a result, their entire Khalasar, all of his blood riders, most of his blood riders abandoned them because he's not a Khal anymore.
Yeah.
And so like she's got a handful of people left, like just a few. And so she kills Drogo. She smothers him to death as an act of mercy. And she walks up to the Blood. She builds him a funeral pyre.
Mm-hmm.
She walks up to the Blood Witch. She's like, I'm going to tie you to that fucking funeral pyre. And they tie her to it and they set it on fire. And the witch is like, if you think I'm going to scream. And Daenerys is like, oh, you'll scream. And that woman fucking screams like you wouldn't believe, burned alive. This fucking huge fire is going. Daenerys grabs her dragon eggs, cradles them in her arms, walks into the fire. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And Jorah, who is like into her now, is like, great. Fucking great. The next morning, the fire has gone out. Jorah is kicking around in the embers and finds Daenerys. All of her clothes have been burned off, but she has not been touched.
Interesting.
Unburned. Like she's not burned. She stands up, fucking titties flopping everywhere, and she has 3 baby dragons crawling around her.
Oh.
And all like the handful of people that are left are like, you are God. You are God.
Yes.
Like you are, oh my God, what the fuck? And that's how the entire series ends. Or the first season ends. Yeah. All right. So that was exactly 2 hours. Our season 2 will be shorter than that, I promise.
Could maybe throw 2 and 3 together. I don't know.
It depends on what happens because there are certain things that
you'll have to think about it.
Yeah. So anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like I'll probably shave it down a little bit. And then it'll be like an official video on our YouTube channel as well. So if you've stuck around this far, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. If I missed anything, put it in the comments. And then next week will be season 2, maybe season 2 and 3. We'll see.
Who knows?
And we'll see you guys later.
Bye.